Hello everyone and welcome back to the nation of free-to-play. I'm Mr. Mondstadt and today we're gonna take a look at the upcoming 5.1 banners. Genshin just announced the upcoming 5 stars in their recent livestream, and we're gonna take a look at who will rerun, who will be released, who might be worth your primos and who you might wanna skip and save for upcoming netline characters. Also bear in mind, this is going to be an F2P perspective, so we're not going to look at constellations or signature weapons. This entire video is based on pull priority at C0 only. Let's go! In the first half of version 5.1 we're going to get a new Geo 5-star character, Xilonen. Xilonen uses a sword as her weapon and, based on the information we got in the livestream, will be able to shred elemental resistance of opponents. Alongside her, Chiori will get her first rerun, and in the second half of version 5.1 we will see Nahida as the Archon and HuTao as the second character. We're gonna take a brief look at all these 4 characters, talk about what to expect, who these might be useful for and whether you should pull for them or not. Starting out with Xilonen as a new limited 5-star Geo character, she looks pretty dang good. Based on the information we got so far, we already know that she will be able to shred elemental resistance based on the elements the other characters of your party have. As far as we know, Xilonen's elemental skill will provide this buff. In her skill, she will be in Night Soul Blessing state and have basically 3 triangles on her Night Soul Blessing chart. These 3 triangles will be Geo by default, however, depending on the elements your other characters in the team have, these will change accordingly. To put it in simple terms, all Geo characters, Animal characters and Dendro characters will cause the triangles to remain Geo. However, every Hydro, Pyro, Electro or Cryo character will change the triangle according to their element. So let's say if you have 1 Hydro, 1 Pyro and 1 Electro character in the party, then these 3 triangles will have these 3 colors, so Pyro, Hydro and Electro. If you have 2 characters of the same element in the party, let's say you play Farina, Noviette, Bennett and Xilonen, you will have 2 Hydro triangles and 1 Pyro triangle. Now just so you know, the elemental shred will not be able to stack, so it doesn't matter whether you have 2 or 1 Hydro triangle in the party, the elemental shred will stay the same. If you have at least 2 non-Geo triangles, Xilonen's burst will also restore HP to the active character. If you do not have more than 2 other elements in the party than Geo, Animal or Dendro, all the triangles will remain Geo and Xilonen gets a normal plunging and charge attack buff. However, based on the information from the livestream, this is not the ideal way of playing her and Xilonen will be a pure support. However, as a support, she looks very promising and I think will be able to buff a lot of characters, a lot of DPSs and has a big variety of team comps. She probably will work well with Noviette, Arlecchino, HuTao or even Raiden Shogun. Another good team comp for Xilonen is actually Napia with double Geo and double Pyro or double Geno Farina Bennett. Basically you can replace Zhongli's spot with Xilonen's spot to get more buffs. It's easy to remember who can be buffed. It can be Cryo, Hydro, Electro and Pyro. Basically all the elements you can also swirl can be buffed by Xilonen, which is why a lot of people compare her to Kazuha, who is also able to shred elemental resistance based on the 4-piece Viridescent Venera set, providing a huge buff to the party. However, Xilonen will not only be able to shred 1 element, but up to 3 at a time, which makes her apparently stronger than Kazuha with 4-piece Vivi. On the other hand, we do not know how big this elemental shred will be yet. It will scale on her elemental skills, so apparently you have to level up her skill, if not even crown it. We will see how big the scaling is. This was not officially announced yet. Personally, I think it will not be super high, but I also don't think it's gonna be super low, so I think it will be roughly around the same scale as a 4-piece Vivi set will shred elemental resistance, as I think it will not be lower than 30, but also not higher than 50%. If you have 2 or more elements in the party that can be swirled / buffed by Xilonen, her elemental burst will also able to restore HP to the active character. This sounds like she could be very useful in teams with Farina, as her healing might be enough to provide full fanfare, and if not, at least you have some survivability. Xilonen is probably not gonna do too much damage herself, which means you don't necessarily want to build too much crit on her if you try to optimize her as a support. She is a Geo 5-star, she is a sword user, and since the new craftable sword from Natlan provides a huge defense buff, one could guess that Xilonen will also scale on defense, which is nice because we all get a lot of these pieces. Xilonen will also be able to provide another 40% elemental damage buff based on the new artifact supportive set from Natlan, Cinder City. So far only Chachina was able to really use that set, but now with Xilonen it seems like we get a 5-star version of Chachina who can really benefit from this 4-piece set, providing up to 40% elemental damage bonus to the elements that are involved in the elemental reaction. Since Xilonen is Geo, we can only trigger the crystallize reaction, and depending on which element you want to crystallize, that is the one that's gonna get buffed. Bear in mind this is only an additional buff and does not affect the elemental resistance shred of all the elements involved in the party. Is Xilonen worth it for you? Again, we can't say for sure, but personally I'm gonna try to pull for her. I saved up a lot of pulls and I already have Nahida and HuTao. And I'm not really trying to get Chiori, so I will try my luck on Xilonen. Should I be able to get her, I will also give you my impressions in the upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. Personally, I think Xilonen looks very promising and might be a good buff to a lot of accounts. If you have Kazuha, you can use her on the other half of Abyss. If you don't have Kazuha, all the better, then you can get a similar buff for your team. A combination of elemental resistance shred, the 40% damage bonus from Cinder City, and the ability to heal is a very great all-around support build that gives you everything you might need in your party, and you can focus your other 3 team members on doing a good amount of damage. Xilonen will also provide easy exploration in Tibet and especially in Natlan, as you can climb walls with her elemental skill and overall move faster throughout the world. A lot of people ask already, is she a must pull? Well, I don't really think there is such a thing as a must pull in Genshin in general. You can play and win the game, beat the Abyss, beat Imaginary Theater with any character. You don't need Farina, you don't need Noviette, you don't need Kazuha, you don't need Xilonen. But sure, some characters make life a lot easier, and I think Xilonen might be one of them. So if you feel intrigued by her design and you like her character and you want to pull for her, I wouldn't necessarily want to stop you. I think she's a very good overall unit that might buff a lot of characters and a lot of parties on your account. Next up, let's have a look at Chiori, another Geo Sword user who's gonna get her first rerun in the first half of version 5.1 alongside Xilonen. Chiori is a defense scaling character who provides off-field damage as a Geo sub DPS and is a rather niche character. Personally, I don't have her and I'm not planning to get her this time, maybe in the future, but I don't see myself playing Geo too much in the future, so I rather doubt it. Personally, I wouldn't recommend going for Chiori unless you really want a Geo support. However, she works best with other Geo characters that summon a construct, which means she's not ideal for Navia teams unless you get her C1. Based on what we know so far, Xilonen sounds like the higher value for your primos. Moving on to the second half of version 5.1, we get reruns of HuTao and Nahida. Starting with the Archon Nahida, I think she is a great unit, and again, Genshin Impact doesn't really have must pulls, but she is by far the best Dendro applicator in the game, and Dendro is one of the most broken elements in Genshin. So I would strongly recommend to pull for Nahida if you do not have her yet and you want to play Dendro teams. Bear in mind that burning is not really her strongest reaction, but anything else like spread aggravate, bloom, hyper bloom, quick bloom, and burgeon, she is almost a must and will make your life so much easier as her elemental skill deals a lot of damage and reapplies Dendro all the time. Her elemental burst also buffs your entire team, plus she's very useful if you have to explore and gather materials like plants. Nahida is definitely a broken unit, and since her release there hasn't really been any other Dendro character that is as good or even close to her Dendro application, and to be honest, I don't think there will be in the near future. So again, if you're looking for a good Dendro support, definitely go get her. She's also very versatile, she fits in a lot of team comps, she's a good off-field damage dealer, she's a good buff, and she can work as an on-field driver as well if you want to play her that way. Lastly, we have HuTao. HuTao was recently power grabbed by Arlecchino, but she will always have a special spot in my heart because she was the first 5-star I ever got, and I really like her even though I only have her at 0. HuTao is a strong pyropolar on DPS, however not as strong as Arlecchino. Her best team is double Hydro Vape, and she requires quite a bit of investment. HuTao is good at C0, but if you want to really max her out, try to get her C1, as her charged attack will not consume stamina at C1. Personally, I only have C0, which means it's a bit scuffed playing her, but she still does good damage. She helped me a lot throughout the early game. I still use her all the time, also out of sentimental reasons. However, objectively speaking, if you want the strongest pyropolar DPS in the game, I would say for Arlecchino's rerun, which might be coming up at some point in Natlan. Overall, my pull priority would be Nahida over Xilonen, even though they're very close. Then maybe if you need a DPS, HuTao, and lastly Chiori, but again, feel free to pull for who you want. In the end, it's a game and you should play who you want to play. Even though Xilonen sounds very strong, I would pull Nahida first, because since she is an Archon, her next rerun will probably be sometime in Nizhnyaya, and Xilonen might get a rerun earlier. So if you only can afford one, I would go for Nahida first and wait for Xilonen's rerun, as it might come sooner than Nahida's. This brings us to the end of this video. I hope you found it useful and now have a better idea of who you want to spend your hard-earned primos on in the upcoming banners. Let me know in the comments down below who you're looking forward to the most, who you're saving for, and who you want to get in 5.1. If you like this video, please leave a like or subscribe to the channel, as it would really help me out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!